In today's video, we're going to take a look at growing tomatoes in containers. I'm going to have a look at what variety of tomatoes we're going to be able to plant in containers. We can have a look at which containers to use and what kind of soil are we going to use. My name is Bridget and this is the Sherwood Urban Farm. Right, so let's have a look at variety. When you're thinking of containers, you'd automatically think, okay, the smaller the better, so let's get a dwarf variety. And it can work very well. I have got, this is the window box red variety, and online you can get there's tumbling tom, there's a yellow tumbling tom, which are all ones that you can those tumbling ones you can have in hanging boxes, and then they actually just sort of cascade over the side. I of course didn't have that success with them when I tried them, but they are determinate, so they are not going to keep on growing and vining like your regular tomatoes. But that being said, I have very successfully grown indeterminate tomatoes in containers. So if you have a look at this tomato next to me, I have three. They're in a very small space over here, and they are grown in relatively small containers, but we'll have a look at that shortly. And I am just blown away. So the method that I use is I have them on a single lead, then they grow along the string, which I wind them around, and then as they get to the top, then I release them so that they drop down, and then their stems just coil. And I'm pruning the side sheets and the leaves as they are coming down so that it is just a nice clean stem and there's enough airflow for them. So this is ideal for somebody with a very small space. Let's say you live in a townhouse complex, or you live in an apartment or a block of flats and you only have a little balcony. This will work. I mean, I have got three plants here, and you can take a look at the trusses. They are producing a multitude of blossoms and of fruit. So this is definitely an option, which makes me think that possibly you don't actually have to worry about what variety you're going to choose if you're going to grow in containers, because this indeterminate variety is growing very successful in this container. Then I can't see why a Roma or a Moneymaker or a Heinz or something like that won't be able to also grow very successfully in containers. I just prefer to actually grow cocktail or cherry tomatoes, because when I'm making a salad I don't have to cut it up, I can just chuck them into the salad like that. Okay, so then let's have a look at containers. So some people are of the opinion that you should have the biggest container that you can get, and the reasoning behind that is so that you don't have to water as frequently, and then also there will be more nutrients in a larger amount of soil. But I have found that I'm able to grow my tomatoes quite successfully in 5-liter containers. And the only difference would then obviously be that I would have to water more often, but at this stage I'm only watering possibly once a week. Like, we're not in the middle of summer yet, so that will make a considerable difference. About a year or so ago, I did a video on growing tomatoes in containers, and I was under the assumption that you couldn't actually grow tomatoes in specifically indeterminate tomatoes in containers, because I assumed that the tomatoes were not growing well because they were in the container. So then at that very same time, I had put them in the ground, which was spring, and then they started to grow really well. So I just assumed that they're growing well because they're now in the soil. But that is not actually the case. They started growing well because the seasons changed and we started getting more daylight hours and it started to warm up. So that is why they started doing well. There's a variety of containers that you can use, grow bags, and then you get these peculiar like sort of air containers, and then you can just use your regular plastic containers, or you can use 20-liter food grade buckets. You could even plant tomatoes in flower boxes. I've placed this one here on our veranda in front of our house. So yeah, by all means you can use any size container, and if you have got the space, the bigger the better. But like I said, I am very successfully growing these in 5-liter containers. I do, however, feed them every so often with diluted chicken manure, sort of like a chicken manure tea, and that seems to be doing pretty well. Now we get to the soil part. Okay, so I use my own homemade compost. I use 2-part compost, 2 parts coconut peat, and 1 part perlite. So let me show you what I do. So it's 2 parts coconut peat, and 2 parts compost. Now you'll see the compost is it's quite sort of sticky almost. That's why I use the coconut peat, because it helps with moisture retention, which I don't think it really needs. It's more the aeration that I'm looking for. It makes it a little bit lighter in texture. That's why I use that. So then, like I said, 2 parts of this. Okay. And then 1 part perlite. Now the reason I use the perlite is for aeration. Let's see. Some people wet it first because of this dust. You're not supposed to breathe that in. I forgot. Anyways, there it is now. Then we mix that in. And now the final thing that I add is wood ash. Now this, it's not an exact science. I usually just use like a handful of it. The wood ash is an added fertilizer. It is rich in magnesium, manganese, iron, copper, calcium, and potassium. So calcium and potassium are your 2 most important things for tomatoes. Calcium prevents bottom end rot, and potassium is for abundant fruiting and to increase your yield, and then it also improves the color. And so if you have these yellow splotches, then normally there's a deficiency in the soil for potassium. And if it has yellowing on the shoulders, so this is the shoulders, if there's yellowing there, then you have a problem in your soil for potassium. And wood ash is amazing. So as South Africans, we love to braai, so there will be abundance of wood ash from our braais, barbecue for those of you elsewhere. And yeah, just a handful of it, and it does wonders for your tomatoes. I hope this video has inspired you to plant your tomatoes into containers. It's just not so difficult, and it will work. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a lovely day, everyone.